Today's episode is brought to you by Security Financial Management.
Ooh, welcome back to Best Advice Podcast, guys. I'm your host, Rob Lovaglio, here as always with Dave Allen and Frank Lovaglio. Gentlemen, ooh, what's crack-a-lacky?
Hang on, fellas. Help is on the way.
I like it. I like the energy. I like the energy.
I'm not even responding to that one.
Let's jump right into it, boys, with some positive energy. We call this segment, Give Me Something Good.
Hey, give me something good.
So we're going to do a little productivity on my Give Me Something Good today. A time management expert named Alex McKenzie, right? And he said there's two things that will increase your productivity by 500%, basically, right?
5 times.
So the first one is lists, right? Everyone knows lists. You sign off your name. If you sign off your name on a list and check it off, it gives you a sense of like accomplishment, which will give you energy to start your second task, right? Everyone kind of knows that.
Yeah.
The second one is kind of interesting to me. Is now you got to organize these lists by product or most important to least important, right? Now this is the important part. Do not stop any task until they're completely done. So start with one, and I don't care if you get anything done, nothing else done the rest of the day, you finish that.
Yeah.
He calls this single handling, right? And supposedly if you do single handling, then all your tasks are going to take 500% less time than if you keep picking it up, putting it down, doing something else, picking it up, putting it down. So it was interesting to me because it's hard for us as like, we all have schedules, right? So it's like 10 o'clock Zoom, 11 o'clock this is due,
right.
12 o'clock got to get the podcast out. But he's saying stop that. Start whatever you're doing, and if it takes 8 hours, go through it. You're also going to you're going to retain a lot more. You're going to learn a lot more. You're going to remember a lot more. So that's my Give Me Something Good.
I like it. I'm
going to add something.
I am too. We'll both add. Well, I got this thought.
Are you holding my arm?
I am. You're my brother, man. What your mom says, Liz says, my wife, his mom, is make your bed every morning. So I'll ask you guys a question. She said, if I make my bed, I make it crisp, put my pillows in, I just accomplished something. And I will admit, I'm not the best at it. I'm kind of, I'm not great at it. How about you? Be honest with me.
Why make it when you can just climb right back in it? My wife has a different opinion. I walk in every afternoon when I get back, and it is made.
Yeah, she makes it for you.
But I'm really good at that.
I'm
you
at
see
home,
my house, Dad. My house is, I'm always, my bed's made, everything's
I'm inconsistent.
clean.
But if I'm home by myself and Kathy's, out and about, maybe gone for the night or whatever, I just pull my sheet back, climb in, climb out, pull the sheet back, then climb in, climb out. So, hey, I make it every once in a while. But there was that military, that one deal, that general that
he
talked
said, make
about.
your bed every day, make your bed every day.
I'm going to start making my bed. Frankie,
see what happened out of this? We're going to make our bed.
We're going to make our bed.
You remember my buddy Scott, from way on back college?
Yeah, Bartos?
Bartos. Yeah. One day, when he lived in town here, he moved over to the West Coast. I remember walking into his office when he was running his company. And I walk in, and there's nothing anywhere.
Yeah,
nothing on the table, nothing there.
Yeah.
It looked.
I bet you think clear that way.
But he had one piece of paper in front of him. So I walk in, I'm like, dude, you got nothing to do in here? What are you doing? He pulls his drawer open. He goes, I got a stack in there, and it's all in order. I work on one thing, and when I'm done with it, I put it in this drawer, it's done, and I pull the next one out.
Well, that's to your point. What would you just say in the intro was, do a task, A to Z, right? So he was doing that, right?
Yeah.
With his work, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the question.
Let's get to the question of the day. Today's question comes from Dave. Dave.
Oh, man.
That's you from New Smyrna Beach. Dave, what's going on, brother?
You want to say something?
All right, gentlemen, Dave says, I noticed the market took a hit recently, followed by negative noise. Today, it seems to have already bounced back. In simple terms, can you break down exactly what and why this happened?
Thank you, Dave. Dad, why don't you take this one for us?
Sounds good. Well, good question. There's been so much craziness and volatility. You look at by August 5th, the market was kind of getting hammered. The S&P was down 8% by end of business August 5th, and NASDAQ was down 13%, all in the last from the 2 weeks prior. So you have this market that was kind of rocking along, and are we going to have a soft landing? And most of the economists were saying, yeah, I think we're going to be good. And all of a sudden, there was a July labor report. And this labor report came out, basically was saying that there was a slowdown in jobs, job creation, and an increase in unemployment. So all of a sudden, we talked about it, Dave and I talked about it, we thought it was an overreaction, but that couple days, the market got punished. And again, in about a week's time, 8% S&P drop and a 13% NASDAQ drop. So you go into a correction mode on the NASDAQ. It looked like the wheels were going to fall off. And I remember, Dave and I talk early every morning. We're still driven as we were when we were 20.
Still crazy.
And it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what's going on? Futures are getting hammered. And of course, he's picking up at 4:55 in the morning. I'm like, what's going on? And we both sort of talked through it and said, you know what? I bet there's going to be some positive reports. And the next week, they're going to dispute this horrible, this craziness and all this negativity. And sure as heck, about 10 days later.
Well, no, it was the next day.
Maybe a couple days later. Yeah, it was
day,
pretty
we
quick.
had a major
well, 10
rebound.
days later, the market was almost all the way back.
Yeah.
So,
now it's back beyond.
And now it's beyond where it was. So again, we had a few clients. It's always the same couple calling, going, "Hey, what's going on? Are the wheels falling off? Should we sell?" And we're like, "We talked about this before." But think about that: 13% down within a couple of weeks. Now it's ahead, so you're about 14% on the exact. But you're all 13% is back, and it's creeping beyond that. So for the people that sold, you just took a 13% loss in that example on the Nasdaq.
Frankie, that's testimony for staying the long game and not worrying about the short term. The media loves negativity,
nervousness,
or extremes. They love the extremes. They like it when
that's what sells.
Really bad or really good. They hate moderate. Everything that if it's moderate or moderation or just normal, they don't like that. It doesn't sell ads.
That's right.
It
doesn't sell.
So turn off your TV and watch a baseball game.
I love when that happens, when it's like 1 month and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh man, I'm down 13%."
Yeah.
Like you guys are like, "Wait a second, I've had your money for 10 years. You're actually up about XXXXX."
Yeah.
But just because it's a day paper loss,
right,
for one day, like it's a paper loss. Like,
yeah,
relax.
Rob, you got to remind them.
True, you got to.
You have to remind people, hey, come on, let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
It happened before. Do you remember March of 20? It was down.
Right.
40%.
Then you would have half
back.
of what you have today.
Oh yeah, but some people really got beat. So
exactly.
You got to ignore the short-term volatility, own good stuff, and live by it.
And here's a couple of facts from that. So we have the July report, spooks everybody, market gets hit, then it makes this nice comeback where we are today. And the big question was well, what's going on? Well, the question then was the July report, labor report that had softness and weakness, was that systemic? Meaning, is that going to be more widespread? Is this the beginning of...
Is it deep? Yeah.
Is it a 2008 moment again? And so what's happened since then? I got a couple of interesting facts. Well, since then, as we talked about on that early call, the GDP, second quarter GDP, gross domestic product, which is the measure of all goods and services in the United States, that's on track for being up 2.8% for the annualized for that quarter. So now there's no recession, right? Because we have growth of almost 3% annualized. So that disputed the scary labor report. And that was one of the reasons why the market started to come back. Because everyone was saying, is it systemic risk or is it just one bad report? And we're never completely out of the woods, right? So we have the one bad report. We've had 3 or 4 good reports, one of them being GDP is growing. You can't have a recession and growth. That's contrary to what a recession is. But now, this week I was reading something. There's always something on the horizon, right? Hey, was unemployment underestimated? Now they have this new report. I think it's due by Monday of next week.
Who's sitting there creating this crap?
But was the report right? So now it's like, so it's like, there's always like a monster looming, around
I
the
think
corner.
it needs a little medicine. Rob,
That market needs to take a Xanax for a day.
It needs to.
Exactly.
There's also that deal that's coming out this week. All the people are gathered in Jackson Hole right now, and the Fed
big,
will
huge,
Fed will have their deal.
Signaling about the
I guess they're expecting that I think what's the Fed fund rates around 5.4 right now. Yeah, could be a good news, bad news.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
They will say, "Oh, the Fed's worried." Too little.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Yeah.
So
Tightrope.
Yeah, it is.
tightrope. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that's exciting, and you know, we're in this business.
Can't
and
get
we're-
hung up on the short term,
Yeah,
though.
we're always gonna give the advice that's honest. But the thing that's exciting from a factual standpoint is in the last 25 years, there's only been 2 times that we've really had recessionary situation. 2008-9, everybody knows the Great Recession.
That was ugly.
And then recently, 2022, with all the massive inflation, the market got crushed, right? Bond stocks, everything
Pumped
was
so much
bad.
money into the government. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But the thing that's
That was
exciting,
20. That was
22, just recently.
2 in how many years?
25 years.
Oh, wow.
We've
I
had
didn't know that.
two
Yeah.
2 in
Wow.
25 years.
Yeah.
So 23 to 25 were positive as far as there was no recession. What's interesting, and you got to give credit, is the resiliency of the U.S. consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So what a lot of people don't realize is about 70% of the success of gross domestic product is based on everybody in this room and everybody that's listening spending money. 2/3 of GDP growth is consumer spending. So what people thought is we gave $5 trillion with a T dollars out during COVID. You had a family of 4 and you had 2 kids, you got a check. There was so much going out, and I'm not saying it was all bad. That was a scary virus that felt like the bubonic plague. I'm not saying it was wrong.
Still some masks running around.
Yeah, there are. Saw one yesterday. The one I like is when you're in the car by yourself and you got 2 masks on. I'm like, is your AC got germs? I mean, what do we got going? I always get a little confused, but I'm okay. I'm not judging. I'm just going, what are you doing in there? But what's interesting is that the consumer resiliency is huge. People thought when the $5 trillion of COVID money went out, that's created inflation, right? Because when you make something, when you put $5 trillion in something, it's going to heat it up, right? If I gave you $5 trillion, would you spend a little bit of that money?
Heck yeah, man.
Right? You'd spend like a drunk sailor.
Maybe.
So people were spending that money.
Maybe.
Are you serious? I'm serious. I'm yacht? Oh my God! Baby!
That fuels the economy, but it made it way too hot. So then what happens? Too much in, now we got to retract it. Let's raise rates to slow it down. But the consumer's been resilient. I feel like that nobody knows telling you the truth, but my feeling and our firm's feeling is we think that there will be a soft landing.
Please recall that as a listener of our program, and we truly appreciate you chiming in and listening to our program, is that we offer a no-cost consultation, either by phone, by Zoom, face-to-face, for any one of our listeners. The link is in the description. You can reach out to our office, schedule a consultation. We would be happy to discuss your circumstances.
Remember, folks, the secret to wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep. Happy days, everybody.
This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only and is not intended as personal financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please do your own research and consult a financial advisor as needed. If you have a question for the guys, email podcast@bestadvicepodcastguys.com.